First and Now is the official BC Lions podcast. Matt Baker and Nik Kowalski, as per usual. And on this episode, we're going to do something a little different, a special edition of First and Now with our partners at World Vision Canada and some other special guests that many of our listeners would for sure be familiar with. But this podcast episode aims to elevate awareness of World Vision's initiatives and its collaboration with the BC Lions while fostering meaningful engagement with the team's fan base. This episode also spotlights Bo Lokombo, you all know him, and the CFL players' journey to Kenya, offering insights into their experiences with World Vision programs. Through storytelling, dialogue, and informative content, this First and Now episode will also serve as a dynamic platform to share impactful narratives and deepen understanding of global issues. And with that, we will now introduce our roundtable for this special episode. We mentioned veteran BC Lions linebacker Bo Lokombo, I believe heading into year 10 of his illustrious CFL career. We have Henoc Muamba. Many of you know him, a Grey Cup champion with the Toronto Argonauts. We were there in Regina a couple years ago when they took down the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Now a World Vision ambassador. Henoc, of course, also co-host of the CFL's Waggle podcast, along with Donovan Bennett. They do a great job there. George Chayka, BC Lions Senior Vice President of Business, and also recently on the World Vision trip to Kenya. And we're thrilled to welcome as well Kyla Findlay, Director of Marketing and Partnerships with World Vision Canada. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, we're gonna explain a lot of great initiatives here over the next hour or so. But we're going to start with George, of course, a major figure in our great partnership with World Vision. George, will ask you, what motivated the BC Lions to partner with World Vision?
I think, first and foremost, World Vision was familiar to myself. Growing up, I'd seen a lot of commercials about World Vision and the work that they were doing in third world countries. And, that's sort of always resonated in my mind. It's something that I was able to watch as a young child growing up. And then I've sort of lost any touch or connection to World Vision. And I was actually watching a CFL game and saw that they were involved with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and that motivated myself to reach out to find more, and it led to a discussion with World Vision. And my thinking after finding out more about World Vision was the BC Lions would be an excellent anchor on the West Coast with regards to promoting the work that World Vision does to the East Coast when we play our games here in the West. One of the things we did was research with regards to the charity. I think about 80% of funds, all funds donated to World Vision, end up in the field, which is an important quality, particularly with the work they're doing, because people that are making a donation to any charity, you want to be confident that the funds are going to where they're needed most to help people in the field. And World Vision scored very high with regards to that ranking and in other opportunity charities. So it was a partnership that, obviously it starts with relationships, and we were fortunate enough to build a partnership, and we've got an excellent relationship. And the trip that we just went on was the culmination of the past 2 years of work, and excited to help tell the story.
And Kyla, we'll put that question to you. What motivated World Vision to partner with us at the BC Lions?
Absolutely. So our partnership with the BC Lions is really built on a shared commitment to community empowerment and making an impact on the lives of those who need it. The BC Lions is really dedicated to the community, and that aligns perfectly with our mission to protect and support children and families. And so that just kind of made a great partnership. When you consider the partnership with the BC Lions, I think it's not only a partnership with the Lions, but it's a partnership with their fans as well. And so we can all work together to bring about positive change and demonstrate that teamwork's possible both within sports and with humanitarian efforts as well. Right now, our partnership with the BC Lions focuses on our Raw Hope program. And so when we're looking at the impact, we're looking to make that specifically focused on support for vulnerable children in communities, particularly in challenging and hard to reach environments. So these are places that are hit by extreme poverty, famine, conflict, and those factors make them fragile and really block children and families from getting their basic needs met. And sometimes those basic needs really include even something as simple as just a civil society.
Bo, obviously, you're someone who joined World Vision Canada as a CFL ambassador alongside Henoc with the Toronto Argonauts. We'll start with you, Bo. What made you want to get involved with this project?
What made me want to get involved was the unknown, the fear of not knowing really what was on the other side. To be honest, I didn't really know too much about World Vision. I only knew some of the things that I've heard from my mom and my dad, but growing up, I didn't really know too much about it. And one thing I did know about World Vision was that they help kids, that their mission statement and their work is with kids, right? And me being a guy who is very much involved in the community, who loves to work with kids, who feel that he's a leader that could help. It was one of the reasons why, I felt like it was a good opportunities, and it was their mission statement for World Vision, and it was alongside my values and what I believed in. So I wanted to get involved in it, and man, boy, am I glad I did, man. What we saw there was absolutely amazing. Some of the things that I didn't know that World Vision really, truly did, like different programs. They really put a bigger picture of what World Vision is all about. And very, very grateful and very thankful to be able to go on this trip with great people, too. We're going to talk with Henoc here, somebody who I played with in Montreal. He was a part of it alongside with other World Vision Canada ambassadors that unfortunately aren't on the podcast, and George and Kyla. Like, it was just a really great team to experience this.
And we'll get into the unforgettable experiences that you guys had in Kenya in a couple minutes here, but we'll hand it over to you, Henoc. What were some of your motivations for supporting World Vision Canada?
I would say similar to Bo, I didn't necessarily know too much. And like George mentioned as well, you've heard, of World Vision, but I didn't know the details as far as what they actually did. And to be honest with you, my perception of World Vision initially was just like, hey, look, World Vision, takes money from people that have more and that are willing to give. And they, I know now that they operate in over 50 countries across, the globe. And so I thought they just take money from people who had enough and more, and who were willing to donate. And, they would give it to the people that needed it the most. But again, and we'll get in depth with regards to what we're able to experience. But what we're able to discover as far as what World Vision does and the programming that they have specifically in Kenya is more than just, giving money to people who need it. It's actually more than that. It's actually empowering people and allowing them to elevate their quality of life, but more than anything, allowing them to be self-sustainable. So it's been, like I said, an amazing experience. And one of the main reasons was the more I would learn, the more I'd be, inspired and impressed. And it aligned directly with my personal values. And just like Bo mentioned as well, we've been teammates in the past. And, we do work in the community to be able to impact the global community in partnerships with World Vision. It was something that I couldn't pass up on.
And Kyla, once you get the players involved with this partnership, what role do you like to see them play?
Absolutely. Simply put, our players are advocates for World Vision. And so they're able to use their voices to tell the stories and experiences of the people in the programs of World Vision. So it's one thing for me to sit here and tell you what Raw Hope is, like I just did. But now that the players have seen World Vision's programming firsthand, they're able to tell you the stories of the people they met and the stories that they experienced while they were there. And I think that really takes it to another level when we're communicating the impact that CFL fans can have.
Very well said. And we're going to talk about the Kenya trip now. I know Nick here has been editing through lots of footage, and on our website and social media accounts with the Lions, I saw plenty of great content over the course of that trip. George, I'll bring it back to you. You haven't spoken in a few minutes. What were your expectations before this trip? How did you prepare, and what did you expect to see and meet?
To tell you the truth, Matt, I went into it with an open mind. I've had people prior to the trip that told me that, a trip like this is life-changing. And, there's no doubt. I think it touched everyone in their own way, individually, with regards to the things that we saw, the things that we witnessed. And, from my standpoint, really proud of the work that we saw, and there's so much more to do. The one thing that really struck me is the spirit of the people. The spirit of the people is strong there. The sense of community is strong. They look after one another, and so many things that we take for granted, just in our everyday lives, are hardships that these people need to deal with just to survive, just the basic necessities of water. I'd heard the stories the first year of our partnership of, young children, and we were trying to make the analogy of sport and talking to young kids playing football to make them aware of situations around the world, and how blessed we are here with the lifestyle that we have in Canada. But I think it worked out to the lengths of, 30 football fields, 40 football fields just to go get your daily water, having to walk. And there was one of the trips that we had when we were, just outside of Lodwar on our way to Kakuma, and seeing people and ladies. I saw a pregnant woman stopped at the side of the road on a trail with a 5-gallon pail of water. I know that weighs about 50 pounds. Water's about 10 pounds a gallon. And I thought, man, she's carrying this by herself just to bring water back to her home, to have water to drink. And it's pretty humbling. It's pretty, I think the word I would say is eye-opening with regards to seeing these people in the real life situations they deal with just to survive. And I think that it makes us appreciate what we have, and I think it gives people an opportunity that they'd like to help and help contribute to make those situations better, not only for the families, but particularly for the kids.
And Henoc and Bo, this trip must have been extra special for you guys, both being born in Africa. And I know where you guys went to Kakuma refugee camp in Nairobi, it's pretty far from where you guys were born, but it's still extra special going back to the continent where you guys were born, right? We'll start with you, Bo, to explain the special impact of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very special. I haven't been back to Africa since we moved in Canada, and that was over 25 years. And, I always thought that when I would go back to Africa, it would be the Congo. It would be to see where I came from. It would be to talk to my family who's still out there. But no, it was in Kenya, and it was still special. I mean, I had an idea going into it as far as the landscape. I had an idea as far as the heat. They said it's hot. Talking to my mom, she said it's gonna be hot. I said I'm ready for it. That's where I'm from. I had an idea kind of what we were gonna see, and so for me it was kind of, it felt like home. You know what I'm saying? Like, it felt like, oh, here, this is where I'm from. But definitely an eye opener. It was cool to, talk about our experience. Some of the kids were asking us about the game of football and kind of what that is, and just to talk to them, interact with them, to connect with them in that way, and to just hear their story as well was pretty fascinating. And I felt like in some of those kids, I could see myself in them, just like they're eager to learn the importance of education, because education is big there. And just the sustainability, they want to improve their life, and to be a part of that and to be almost like a source of motivation was awesome. So yeah, I had a good time. That was cool.
And Henoc, for yourself, how much special was it for you to go back, given your family roots to Africa?
It was extremely special. Similar to Bo, again, we have a very similar, story, journey, if you want to say, as far as, where we've ended up with regards to, pro sports. But like Bo, my family, as well as myself, I was born in the Congo and, obviously grew up in Canada. And like Bo as well, I've always had aspirations to also go back to the Congo and do work within the community over there and whatnot. And I've had a vision for a long time to do that. And when the opportunity presented itself to partner with World Vision, it was one that I couldn't refuse. But again, to me, really, and how I think about it and how I view it, even when I reflect and I look back at our experience in Kenya. I know I used to think, man, look, I can't wait to go and give. I can't wait to, provide inspiration, motivation, and support on this trip. And I can't stress enough the amount of, gratitude that I have because I received so much more than I planned on even giving. And so I'm extremely privileged and honored to even be partnered with World Vision and be an ambassador going forward. So I'm excited for, more work that I can do with World Vision in order to continue to have more impact around the world.
We heard George share a story about water and the lengths the residents had to go to get it. Do either of you guys have a similar story that stuck with you? Bo, go first. Start with Bo.
With as far as water?
No, just any story from the trip that maybe you took away.
One of the things that we saw was the Peace Club program, which is basically these kids who are almost like ambassadors in their community, and they represent peace and unity through sports. And one of the stories that I felt, or it wasn't really just the story, but it was more so how organized everything felt. Initially when we got there, one of the things we did was we went to see the head office in Kenya, which was super cool. They kind of broke everything down, what we were going to see throughout our trip. As the days went on, we went to actually experience this. So the Peace Club was one of the first things, and we sat in the classroom and we got the chance to see what these kids were learning. And for me, it felt like I was also a student, learning, because the teacher was doing such a phenomenal job of connecting sports and unity and peace all in one. And just to experience that, and I know Henoc there, and he could touch on this too. It was really, I just felt like I just saw how important it was, education, and how these kids are so willing to learn and to continue to motivate and talk about the peace. So that was cool. That was really cool.
And I think, just to elaborate on what Bo was talking about, one of the things they mentioned to us is that, in the refugee camps, when those camps first started showing up, the kids that were in the refugee camps would oftentimes get in fights with some of the locals from the schools in Kakuma. And what they've done an excellent job of, and this is through the work of World Vision leadership as well, is teach these kids the opportunity to work together and respect one another. And I think from the turmoil that a lot of these people have come from in these refugee camps, because it's a melting pot of a number of different cultures and countries and races that come together in these refugee camps, about the importance of working together in unity and spirit of cooperation. And sport is a very big part of that. The Peace Club that Bo was referring to, you've got to earn your way into the Peace Club. This is building leaders out of these kids that are in the refugee camps, and they've got to do well in school and they've got to do well in sports. So it really brings out the best, from achievement of the top kids that are in these refugee camps. That's the one thing that I thought was was pretty cool. How they're building leadership groups out of those people, and as Bo mentioned, the teachers do a phenomenal job. I was blown away when we went into that one classroom, Bo and Henoc, and how disciplined the kids were and respectful, and the teacher was just leading them along with regards to, what their key learnings were and what they shared. That was very impressive in my mind.
And Henoc, something that you guys talked about going to these clubs, but I've had the honor of dissecting all the footage and editing it together, and for a video series that's going to be coming out with the BC Lions coming out soon. But one thing that almost gave me chills at times was when you guys would walk into these different classrooms in the Mathari Valley, or when you went to the Women's Empowerment Club that one day, is the greetings you guys would get, where they'd all the kids would be singing, all the women would be singing. Just talk about what you were feeling getting that such special greetings from several different groups.
No, absolutely. It was extremely emotional, but you felt so much gratitude, and you saw the joy that they had in just welcoming people that came to visit them, right? And that's really like and I think Bo can also relate to this. It's very much African culture to be able to always welcome people that come into your presence, whether it's in your home or it's your establishment. And it was awesome to walk into, Cheers. And one of the programs that we visited, I think it was the women's program. It was amazing how they were, just welcoming us and cheering and dancing and singing. And it was just awesome. But I think further even to that, then, aside from the Peace Club and as well as the women's program that we were a part of as well, and we got a chance to sit and speak with the community at hand. One of the things that I think deeply impacted myself, and I have 3 daughters, right? Where I'm a father of 3, and Bo, unlike me, he hasn't been blessed enough to have any daughters. He has 2 boys, but I was able to kind of, every time we'd walk around, whether it was in the Mathari Valley or in Kakuma as well, it was almost like I could see my kids in some of the girls that I would see. I could see little cousins in some of the little boys that I would see. And it would break my heart at times when I would see some of the little girls who were, not much older than my youngest daughter, who's just about to turn 2. And, walking around and kind of know their way around. And one time in particular, I think the young girl was walking right next to Gino, and Gino even reacted because he was trying to help her, but she was walking around and she knew exactly where she was going, and it looked like she was about to fall because it was like almost like a large step, and she took a step and she just kept walking. And so to me, it was like, okay, well, this is not her first time walking around like that. And so seeing myself, seeing my kids and potentially younger cousins in these young kids was absolutely, kind of heartbreaking. But at the same time, I think the thing that, was extremely inspiring, because it was a whirlwind of emotions the whole trip, right? And again, I talk about my involvement in the community throughout my whole career, and Bo can see the same. And there's a lot of the guys that were actually with us, a lot of the guys also do a lot of work in the community. And so we're used to, and this is part of our DNA, really, to do work in community and to elevate and inspire and motivate people that are around us. But it could become so overwhelming when you find yourself in a place like in the places that we were in a refugee camp of over 250,000 people, and all of them experiencing, deep levels of poverty. And so it could be, at times I'll be honest and transparent, I was extremely discouraged. And I had to take a step back. But what really allowed me to be inspired was the work, the energy, the enthusiasm that you would see and you really feel from World Vision, the people that worked at World Vision who were, teaching and who were helping and who were, again, teaching all of these various lessons. One of the women's program that we went to was a program, women's empowerment program, where they were teaching them how to sew. And again, teaching them how to sew so that they can also be able to, learn a business so that they can also start to provide for their families, and teaching families how to garden so they can feed themselves and also be able to sell some to the community at large. And so when you see that level of energy from the people that work at World Vision, I mean, you can't help but also be awakened. You can't help but also be energized. And, that was really something that stuck with me for sure.
And we obviously haven't mentioned yet that the four of you on this roundtable were joined by Dominique Grimes of the Ottawa Redblacks and Tyrone Verde of the Ottawa Redblacks, but also Eugene Lewis from the Edmonton Elks and Miles Brown from the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And with all this great footage I've seen these moments where the kids just totally idolized you guys when you guys walked into these rooms. And Kyla, you were there, obviously, at a front row seat to all the different experiences that these players went on. What were some of maybe the most special moments you witnessed in terms of the kids just being in awe of the players coming in?
Yeah, I think we talk about the importance of having our player ambassadors equipped to tell about their experiences and stories, which is why it was important to show them what World Vision did firsthand. And we also looked to partner with players who were committed to the community and aligned with our values. And so I knew we were going in with a good group of people. But when we were actually there, just seeing the vulnerability and the heart of these players and, how much they embraced the experience, I was absolutely blown away and impressed with their commitment, their passion. I cannot say enough about the players and the ones who were in the Philippines with us as well from the remaining teams. Just overall, just an impressive group of men that I think that we are very privileged to be partnered with. And then when you look at kind of like specific instances, when we went to the school before we saw the peace clubs and just the welcome with the kids, and not only seeing their excitement and their enthusiasm and the yelling, but the guys in there dancing with them and singing with them and tossing the football around. You can look at the impact of all the programs, and I think that that's what we expected a little bit. But then, those side interactions that happen that are truly organic and moments of connection with the people that are there. That's what really stood out to me as special moments that I didn't necessarily anticipate as much.
I think the other thing too, I'll just share is the stories that Bo and Henoc have with regards to coming from the Congo originally and then moving to Canada and then achieving their success in the sport of football. I think that captured a lot of the kids' attention and it gave them hope. You could see the curiosity, you could see the inquisitiveness to understand more about football and their journey and the success that they've had. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot more athletes comparable to Bo and Henoc in that refugee camp that we saw. You can tell there's a lot of athletic ability there with a lot of these young kids and boys and girls. Man, we were doing a little drill there with Henoc and Bo, teaching them how to run the ball, how to defend. And, we're out in a field. There is no grass there. I mean, it's so dry. It's a gravel field. And, the kids would just take their flips right off, their shoes right off, and they're running around barefoot on that gravel. And I'm thinking, man, I'd be tiptoeing and cringing just walking on that gravel. And they were right in there making moves and cuts. And it's pretty amazing to see.
It's never too early to start thinking about the neg list, George. Were you on the phone to Neil Ryan, anything like that? What?
There is talent there. I'm telling you right now, there is athletic talent there, given the opportunity. And there was another story. I think that one fella at the school that we visited, his parents, he came to the refugee camp, and I think, Kyla, remind me of the story. I think he was like 12 years old, and he had two younger brothers and had to look after those kids on his own in the refugee camp. He's a pretty good soccer player. I think he's got an invitation to play at a much higher level. Just amazing what these kids deal with and how they persevere and camp and working with World Vision, giving them the opportunity to have success. Boy, you had to see it. It's hard to put into words, but to see it and feel it and the reaction of those kids and the excitement they had and the spirit more than anything. It does stay with you. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I was just going to add that when we're talking about that experience specifically, the child lost his parents after they got to the refugee camp at 12 years old. And so that's what they call a child-led family. And that's a harsh reality of what they're living through. Like sometimes children are put as the head of the household very early on. And when there's other things that impact, what prevents kids from being able to be a kid. Sometimes they have to leave school so that they can go on the trek to get water every day. Sometimes they're engaged to be married as young as 9 years old. What we saw. And so that prevents them from finishing their education and then going on to, have bigger opportunities as adults. And so I think that, in those cases where they're given the opportunities for livelihoods or support, where they're able to continue that education and continue on to those opportunities, being able to see them dream about being professional athletes, dream about being, what these great ambitions for careers that the kids have when they know that they're going to have the opportunity to make it through school is so impressive and so beautiful. And I think that's something to note about how incredible the dreams that these kids create for themselves are.
Very well said. And yeah, George a minute ago talked about some of his perspectives and takeaways. Bo and Henoc, what did this trip do to change your perspective? Any takeaways that you won't soon forget?
I know for me, first and foremost, it was amazing to experience this with this group, with this team. I thought it was just really cool. Henoc's been my teammate, and Dominique, Eugene, Gino, and Miles, and Tyron too. It was just such a cool team. But for me, what I'm going to take away from it is great. Being grateful, being thankful is very important. Especially seeing what some of these people go through and are going through, but they still manage to have a smile on their face. They still manage to go on about their day and to continue to improve their life. And that's going to leave my heart feeling good, knowing that they're still working and knowing that there's still lots to do. There's a lot of things that we can continue to do. I know I've been talking with my family and some of the things that I would like to continue to do to help. And I just look forward to the future. I always tell my kids, man, you guys are very grateful. You guys have it good. And so there's some people out there that don't have it like you guys. So be grateful. And again, just the experience that was awesome.
That was pretty eye-opening, having the opportunity to walk around that. Just the kids in the school and the conditions that they were living in, and they basically are not allowed to go to public school. World Vision has set up these educational hubs, and how many people were there again, Kyla, that live in that area? Was it like 100,000?
Yeah, it was a lot. And I think that also highlights, the community coming together. The teacher was part of the community. The communities as a whole are helping to fund this school. And so World Vision is also stepping in, to make sure that these kids in these areas are getting the opportunity for that education. And I think that even, highlights the community impact. So when we're looking at programs like this and others, we're looking to create livelihoods that can trickle down to different generations and things like that. But the communities are doing that as well, as they help each other. They're learning skills and teaching others. And, there's this gap on education. And so with the support of World Vision, they're able to kind of make sure that their kids are getting the education they need on their own.
And that one teacher, guys, you'll remember, he loved soccer. He was a coach, and how the pride he had in the kids coming from that, playing against some of the public schools and winning championships, and the kids that had the opportunity to get a scholarship to go to high school. Now they get an opportunity to go to high school because they're outstanding soccer players. But, just the things that we take for granted. What I was going to say originally is, coming out of that visit, I remember getting on the bus and Gino saying, you know what? If I hear anything from any of my kids or family, I'm going to say, I don't want to hear it, because they have no idea what the conditions are like that, the kids and the people we're dealing with out of that area that we had just visited. So that's
it was It was that day on that visit where we ran into the little BC Lions fan.
Oh man, that made the trip. We couldn't believe it. Just to tell the story, when we were pulling into that primary school, the gates opening up, the bus is driving in, and there's this little fella looking around the gate watching the bus come in, and he had a Lions jersey on. And everybody on the bus went nuts when they saw
the
it.
photo. Yeah.
It was so random. And me, I had to go see this kid. I had to go talk to him. And so I had a couple of player cards that I gave him. And I was trying to really get to ask him if he knew about the game of football and kind of get to know him. But I think he was shy a little bit.
Yeah, and I found out the story. I mean, he wasn't even in school that day. His mother had brought him to school to get some medication because he was sick. And when we got off the bus, one of the staff members went and said, "Hey, can you wait? The people on the bus would like to talk to you." And that was a special moment, I think, special for that young guy to be able to just to understand where we were from and understand, Bo's role and position, and that was our team that he was wearing that jersey. But I'll tell you, everybody went nuts on the bus as soon as we saw that jersey. It was pretty cool.
I know throughout the trip too, you guys did have a lot of travel time on buses to the various locations that you guys visited. We've talked about some of those interactions, like Gino saying, my kids and my family better know they have it good, and same with you, Bo. But, among the players and all the downtime you had, and even the reflection time that you guys had after your full days, what were the conversations like that you guys had between players about this trip?
Man, it was we were so committed, and again, it's funny because we didn't have much conversations before traveling together, and obviously we all knew the guys. We had debrief meetings before traveling, but we never really discussed, hey, what is it going to be like, and what are you expecting, and what do you plan on doing, and whatnot. We just all went, like George mentioned earlier, with open hearts and open minds, to hopefully be able to have some impact alongside World Vision. And so, the little times that we would have and the travel times, outside of just the reflection time, but that we had alone, or even sometimes you just had to close your eyes a little bit on the long drives. But the times that we got to talk to one another was, it was just us reflecting on the days that were happening. And the little bit of time that we spent there really felt like really months, because of the different people that we were interacting with, and the experiences that we're seeing, and the emotions that we were going through on a day-to-day basis. And so we would talk about everything, and we would kind of debrief, and then sometimes we would split in different groups. And so we talk about, hey, well, how was your experience, and how was your trip? And I remember in particular, Bo and I actually went to a women empowerment program where we saw the women who were sewing, and these women were so talented. With the help of World Vision, they were literally learning from scratch how to sew, and they had all kinds of stuff hanging on the walls, and it was extremely impressive and all. And so when we came back, we were sharing that with the group that went elsewhere, and then they shared a few other things with us, and they talked to us about Pastor Pauline, which Bo and I didn't get a chance to meet, but apparently this woman was extremely, extremely inspirational. And this is a woman, again, in an environment where, you would think that people would be depressed and people would be discouraged, but she was thriving, and she built, she's providing so many different things for her community, and supporting young kids and supporting other families with what she's able to teach others as well, and the lessons that the skills that she was able to acquire, again, through the support of World Vision. And so this woman in particular, Pauline, impacted really all of us. You think about, having an impact and inspiration and whatnot. We all wanted to have that, but we were inspired by her because she was over there. We're coming here thinking we're going to give, thinking we're going to impact. And she was like asking the guys that were there, she's like, what do you guys want? What do you guys need? And to me, it was mind blowing. And I was baffled by, her attitude and her just aura and her energy. Everybody was really talking about it for the whole time, the whole trip, the rest of the trip that we were there. And so, one of the biggest takeaways for me was also the fact that, we were more alike than we thought, right? As far as resilience, as far as the fight that they have. Bo talked about, we saw kids that were running around and smiling. Families and community members that were smiling, even though they were, struggling in various areas. But that is something that is core and is essential for really any human being to survive and to grow and to thrive. And they possess that. Right. And I would even go as far as saying, like, there's probably a lot of people that I've encountered in Canada and North America that probably that aren't as strong as these individuals that we met in certain communities were. And so the resilience that they displayed and the fight and it was really inspirational to me and motivated me to even want to do even more.
Yeah, and I think Pauline's a great example of how of that outlook from them, because she was supported by World Vision to create this business, and now her business is thriving. She could very easily say, I'm doing good, I'm going to sit over here and take it all in, but she's paying it forward and she's helping others in the community, not only with their own businesses, but just supporting her community as a whole. And I think that's really speaks volumes to Pauline herself, but the community as a whole, of how they really support each other. They won't just, look out for themselves. They look out for everyone around them.
And that was also something that was so pertinent. We saw it everywhere we went, how they were so selfless. And that is a lesson I think even us, we can also learn from them. Especially in Kakuma, I remember we've talked about it as well, and you talk about some of the conversations that we would have, a lot of the times we were coming out of the hotels and we would see some of the kids that were just hanging out and they'd ask us for certain things and whatnot. And sometimes if we have a water bottle, you would give it to one of them, and they would make sure they would take the water bottle knowing that they were thirsty. They would go and give it to their little brother or the younger person that was next to them. And to have that level of empathy, to have that level of selflessness is really next level. And like I said, that's something that, all of us can really learn from.
Yeah, I was just going to add in the, when we were witnessing the sports I see the sports balls on the gift catalog and things like that. And it seems like a fun gift, but how these sports is being used as a tool to foster peace in the community really highlighted the value of getting sports equipment where it's needed. We had looked at the one school where there was 4,000 kids sharing one soccer ball. And you guys had your footballs there and threw it into this massive crowd of kids. And, if that happened anywhere, you'd be like, oh, well, that ball's gone. And all of a sudden the ball appears right in front of you, just showing the care and the thought that they have for the things of others, the things that hold value. And the ball made it back because there was that care and thought put into it.
Kyla, I was going to throw this one to you as well. What do you hope listeners will take away from these experiences and all the great insights shared on this podcast roundtable?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just being inspired by those that we met in the community and looking out for each other, not just in our own communities, but across the world. And I hope that what we take away is, what we're doing is truly impactful. We are doing what we say with the money and actually making an impact and change across the world. And so I just want us all to be inspired, both globally and within our own communities, to just support one another.
George, you want to add anything to that as well?
No, I think Kyla summed it up. It's about, being aware as a human that there's others less fortunate. We've got others less fortunate in our community, but there's others less fortunate and in a lot more dire situation in the countries that World Vision is doing work in. And what we experienced in Kenya, I don't think anybody's ever seen anything like that. And if there's anything we'd like to see come out of this is that, CFL fans, Lions fans, to be able to say, I'm a supporter of World Vision. and to be able to make a donation to help fund the work that they're doing and continue the great work that they're doing. And, as Kyla mentioned, the money goes to the field. It's in the field. We've seen the results in the work that they've done as far as helping people, not only directly, but long-term, helping their livelihoods, helping them to be self-sustainable. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
I think a lot of times people kind of get caught up in, hey man, where's my money going, and who is getting my money, and let me see the progress and whatnot. And what we got to discover is really that it's not just the hand-to-hand money exchange that happens, right? It's a whole program that's been thought of, that has been developed over a long time, that actually works. And I wish, some of the guys that were in the Philippines were able to talk, as they were at a, program that, had a little bit more, a few more years ahead, a few more years ahead than the program that we witnessed out in Kenya. And so what I'm just saying is that the money that is donated goes to programs that allows for communities to be self-sustainable. And to me, that is the game changer, right? And it's important for us to understand that, even as we share these stories with the people that are around us.
Yeah, and I think that, we're really easy to look at when we come across hard times, the resources that are available to us. And in the fragile context where it's really hard to reach these people, they don't have a lot of resources. And so being able to be in these places and support those communities really holds a lot of value and provides a lot of impact. But there is a lot of impact as well when those resources aren't there or they aren't supported. As we saw when we were there looking at the World Food Program, which the Raw Hope program supports, is, due to a lack of donations, they've had to cut rations by 50%. And then talking to the community of the impact of that as well, it really does create, a lot of hope when they know that people across the world are helping fund these resources for them.
Yeah, and it's a perfect time to tell those listening and watching. This has been outstanding, by the way, very inspiring. We could probably do more of these and still not get to some of the great stories and the important factors. But we encourage our listeners to join both the BC Lions and World Vision in their mission to make a positive impact on those in need. You can donate at bclions.com/worldvision. Again, that is bclions.com/worldvision. You can follow the BC Lions and World Vision to stay updated on the incredible work being done to tackle poverty and empower communities. This has been excellent again, everyone. And any final thoughts? We welcome them.
No, thank you. Honestly, it was a life-changing trip, and I look forward to the future, and I look forward to continue to have an impact, and continue to be a part of this.
Absolutely, and thanks for having us, and thanks to you, Bo, Henoc, and George for partnering with us and going through this experience with us. So we're very grateful for you.
We're proud to partner with World Vision, Kyla, and after having the opportunity to see firsthand the work that you do, as I mentioned earlier, it really, was about 2 years in the making for us to be able to make this trip, and truly inspiring and eye-opening and truly appreciative of the work that World Vision does. And as I mentioned before, I hope that we can encourage more of our fans, both BC Lions and across the Canadian Football League, to help World Vision make a difference in the work that they do and continue the great work they do.
Well said. Once again, that's www.bclions.com/worldvision for information and to donate. For Nik Kowalski, this is Matt Baker, and this has been a very special edition of First and Now. Thanks, everybody.